But you're going to come up and introduce everyone? Okay. And then what are we doing? When all the speaking is done, then I'm going to sign? Hey, Mark.
Speaking done, you sign,
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
That's basically what's going to speak. And then sign.
Right. Okay.
I told you to make those remarks.
No, not really.
I think, yeah, it'd be like 105.
I have a minute sign.
Okay. All right. Let's go.
Okay?
Doesn't matter.
Hi, Joanne.
Good. Excellent.
Good.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. We're going to get started. Thank you so much for being here today on such an important day. I'm Rue Landau, the Executive Director of the Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations, and we are the entity that is charged with enforcing the civil rights laws and educating the public about the laws. We're so pleased that, again today, Philadelphia is moving another step towards equality for women in the workplace. Today's legislation, Bill number 130922, adds another brick in the wall of protection for working women and their families. Offering more details about this new law today will be a series of stakeholders, but none more important than our first speaker. Please join me in welcoming our mayor, Mayor Michael A. Nutter. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and Ruth, thanks for the introduction. I normally don't correct Ruth because she's almost always right. There are a lot of really important speakers here today, and there are a lot of really important folks in the audience. So I'm just pleased to play my part. You're going to hear from many of them, but I need to recognize a few folks directly. One, of course, is our great executive director of the Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations, the best agency of its kind anywhere in the United States of America, and Rue continues to do a fantastic job. Please recognize our executive director, Rue Landau. Councilman David O., you'll hear from him in a few minutes, primary sponsor of this great legislation. Councilman Bill Greenlee is here with us, and Representative Mark Cohen. I also want to thank, of course, our Health Commissioner, Dr. James Bueller, is here with us this afternoon. Joanne Fisher, you'll hear from in a second, Executive Director of the Maternity Care Coalition, and Letizia Amadini Lane, who's the Vice President of Employee Value Proposition at GSK GlaxoSmithKline. I also want to recognize, just because we get a chance to do so many great things together, and she told me something today that I want to slightly brag about, and that, of course, is Carol Tracy, who is an incredible leader in our community. Please recognize Carol. Carol told me that with today's announcement and a number of other things, that Philadelphia is in fact becoming one of the most women-friendly cities in the United States of America, and I happen to agree, but it was her quote, so we'll give that to Carol. Today is a very exciting day in the city of Philadelphia, and I would suggest not only for women, but for all citizens. With the signing of this legislation, which I'll do in a few minutes, we're once again, you guys got that? You all right? We are once again confirming our commitment to fairness and equality for every citizen of this great city, and most importantly, protecting the rights of mothers, women, and families across Philadelphia. Before we get started, I want to take a brief moment to thank all of the people who were integral to this legislation. Certainly advocates from the medical community, the grassroots civic and business community, naturally, of course, Philadelphia City Council members, and the many, many vocal supporters, many of whom are here with us today. And to all of you in the room, I want to say thank you very, very much. It was your hard work and the efforts of Councilman David O. that made today possible. And on behalf of all of our citizens, I want to say thank you. Today, there are more women in the American workplace than in any other time in our nation's history. Nearly half of the workforce, 47%, are women. Nationwide, 4 in 10 households with children under the age of 18 include mothers who are either the sole or primary breadwinner. Approximately 67% of married women with children are employed. Nearly 6 in 10 women with infants work or are currently looking for work. Right here in Philadelphia, hundreds of thousands of women go to work each and every day. And while the Fair Practices Ordinance included a public accommodation provision for breastfeeding, it did not include guidelines to address the unique needs of working women. This legislation will clarify existing legislation regarding sex discrimination in the workplace and require employers with 1 or more employees that they must accommodate the need of an individual to express or pump breast milk in the workplace by providing a sanitary, private, non-bathroom space in order to do so. In conjunction with our new parental leave policy, one of the most progressive family leave policies by any city in America, and our pregnancy accommodation ordinance passed earlier this year, this protection demonstrates our administration's and our city's commitment to mothers and families all across Philadelphia. There is also an advantage to these kinds of policies for businesses. Studies show that positive work environments, like that created by providing a clean, safe space to express milk or offering parental leave, have a direct positive impact on productivity. To put it simply, happy workers get more work done. As parents, our first priority is to care for our families. This legislation today ensures that working women can provide nourishment for their young children in an appropriate environment without stress or fear. Again, I want to thank Councilman O and all the members of City Council and all of our advocates for taking swift action on this essential issue. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to take 1 second also to recognize the Commission, PCHR Commissioner Sadiq Jabbar Garner. So now we'd like to hear from the author of this bill that helped make all of this happen. Everybody, please welcome Councilman David O.
All right, thank you very much. And of course, thank you to our mayor who is enacting this into law today, Councilman Bill Greenlee, who has been a champion of all these issues, as well as State Representative Mark Cohen, who is here, and all of you. Years ago, before I was elected to City Council, I represented a police officer. And I actually didn't handle the case. I was busy, and I introduced her to a friend of mine. And what had happened, and she had given birth to her child, and when she went back to work, she wanted to express milk. And she was a police officer at one of our private universities, and they routinely allowed women to express milk in a very safe and clean place. But in her case, they did not, because she was harassed to the point where she ultimately quit her job. And it's a well-documented situation, and so I thought this was a simple case of going into federal court, because how could a person, particularly only women are going to express milk, how could they be fired for trying to simply express milk? And the case was dismissed, as it has been dismissed all over the United States. And it wasn't until last year that an appellate court in Texas overruled another dismissal of such a claim. And so this law protects women, and in doing so, advances our society in 2 ways. One is that was a great worker, and we needed her to work, and she needed to work. And second of all, she wanted to be close with her child. She wanted to be a good mother, and we need that too. These are not 2 inconsistent things, because this is a reasonable accommodation. There's no reason why she should have been harassed and not allowed to express milk, to have the 2 things that she could do, be a mother and a productive worker for our community. And so with this, we are advancing our city, and I'm sorry to say, trying to keep up with some other countries that are way ahead of us right now, and they used to not be ahead of us. We need to keep moving forward. to have women who are able to enjoy the workplace, thrive and grow, be successful, advance on the merits, while also being great mothers to their children. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Councilman. I'm going to keep taking the liberty of announcing our PCHR commissioners when they arrive. Marshall Freeman is here. Everybody say hello. Thanks. So we know this kind of great work of protecting women is happening all the time on the grassroots level, whether it's in hospitals or in policy offices. And now I have the pleasure to introduce to you Joanne Fisher, the Executive Director of the Maternity Care Coalition.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilman and Mayor and Representative Cohen. This has been a long time coming, and we are really thrilled to know that women in Philadelphia will have a new level of protection as they breastfeed their babies. This really does represent a major milestone in the rights of working families and represents a shift of focus towards the rights of those mothers. In 2011, the Surgeon General's call to action addressed employers asking them to create breastfeeding-friendly workplaces. The Affordable Care Act spoke to ensuring that women in the workplace with employers over 50 have safe, clean places where women can express milk. And it's interesting to me to understand how these supports for women make all the difference. For women to really achieve their breastfeeding goals, women are returning to work more and more quickly after they have their babies. The Academy of Pediatrics, I see Dottie Shell here from the Academy, recommends that babies are breastfed for a year. And so in order to accomplish that goal, women need really serious support from friends, from family, from neighbors, and from the workplace. Even though we've had some of these rules in place through the Affordable Care Act and through the city ordinance, we hear from women every day that they're not able to breastfeed in their workplace. So one of the things that we have been doing with the Department of Public Health, and I see Sarah and Nikki here who've been working so hard on this, and Esther, is to help employers figure out how to do this well. It's easy to say in a piece of legislation, you need a good place. But if women don't know that this option is available to them, and just last weekend, someone said to me, you know, I found out that my employer has a room where you could express milk and pump, but I never knew it. No one ever told her. So that assurance is not valuable if she doesn't know about it. So one of our first goals has to be to make sure that women know that they can do this, and we have to help employers, because none of us want to take our lunch in the bathroom, and neither do babies. So we need to support employers how to set up an appropriate place to breastfeed their babies. Finally, I'd like to say that Philadelphia is moving. And last month, for World Breastfeeding Month, the hospitals in Philadelphia announced that they have gone bag-free, which means they are no longer giving formula out routinely. And that is an important step to becoming a baby-friendly hospital. And pretty soon, we should have every hospital in Philadelphia be baby-friendly. And then we will truly... And I want to acknowledge Katya Pigor from Maternity Care Coalition, who's been working so on this. And if you need technical questions answered or how workplaces can become breastfeeding friendly, wave your hand, Katya. She knows the answers. Once we do that, and I know the city has taken those steps, and she just told me as we were stuck on a bus that SEPTA is next, that she'll be working with them. But then truly we can say, we're the city of motherly love. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. That was wonderful. I want to take a second to recognize Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds Brown, who is a mom who breastfed, as she just told me. So finally, Joanne just highlighted this a little bit, but one of our key partners in our effort to make all of this become a reality is industry, and getting good corporate citizens to back this, to make it an important part of their work. So providing the business view and the benefits of this law is Letizia Amadini Lane. It's a very long title. She is the Vice President and Global Head Employee Value Proposition, Office of CEO and Corporate Strategy at GlaxoSmithKline.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm absolutely delighted to be here today, not only representing GSK, but also the industry perspective. For those of you who don't know us, GSK is a global research-based pharmaceutical company, and we have more than 5,000 employees here in the greater Philadelphia area. Providing workplace accommodation for espresso milk is the right thing to do. For our children, the leaders of tomorrow, and the working mothers, the leaders of today. For more than 15 years, GSK has been providing lactation room, where a safe and private space for our working mothers. GSK supports and provides a vibrant working environment, a flexible working environment, where working mothers don't have to make a choice between what is right for the child or coming back to the workforce. They can do both, so they can lead and live an integrated life, a balanced life. GSK has deep roots in Philadelphia. We go back to 1830, when John Smith, the Smith of GlaxoSmithKline, opened an office in the old city. A year ago, we opened our office at the Navy Yard, one of the greenest and healthiest offices, not only in Philadelphia, but in the United States. And we do provide lactation room. We provide quiet and tranquil room. Trust me, we need that as well. And we provide health clinics, fitness centers, cafeteria, coffee shops, place where we can go and sit and talk. But most than anything, we're absolutely proud to support this and deeply honored to join forces with you so that our community can provide this for all our working mothers and doing the right thing for our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Letizia. It is so important in our work as we enforce these civil rights laws and make sure that our workplaces are safe and protected, that we have corporate partners who are helping us as well and help us get the word out there for everyone else that this is something that can be done. So thank you. We are now going to take a break, and the mayor is going to sign the bill.
Where's David? Oh, right here. Okay, great. This is Bill number 130922, it's an ordinance amending Title IX of the Philadelphia Code entitled Regulation of Businesses, Trades, and Professions to clarify that it is discrimination based on sex and therefore an unlawful business practice for any employer to fail to accommodate an individual's reasonable need to express breast milk, all under certain terms and conditions. It is now the law of Philadelphia.
So we're so proud that this new law was enacted today. Thank you, Mayor Nutter. Thank you, Councilman O, for introducing it and for leading us on this path. And we have some closing remarks by the mayor.
Ruth, thank you again very, very much to all of the advocates where certainly many of the great things in Philadelphia happen because there are voices out there and people who care about issues in a very passionate way, and then often one or more of our council members takes up that call and pushes a piece of legislation that is greatly needed and very important and makes things happen here in our city, and that's how good things happen. So again, I want to thank Councilman O and ask that we recognize him one more time for his great work. And certainly all the members of Philadelphia City Council for their leadership and support. With that, for today's particular announcement and the signing, I or any of us would be glad to try to answer any questions that you might have on this legislation. Chris?
So the law is now part of the Fair Practices Ordinance, and the penalties are a fine of $2,000 under the Fair Practices Ordinance, but also could have compensatory damages and attorney's fees, and we're hoping many employers comply. We'd rather not fine them, but we want employers to comply. Thank you.
Was that the applause from the attorneys in the crowd when they mentioned the compensatory fees? There just seemed to be an eruption there at that point. Any other questions on this legislation and the momentous day in front of us? Anything else? Yes.
Thanks. So the Fair Practices Ordinance is very broad. It is actually just one or more employees in the city of Philadelphia.
I would like to add that, there has been an issue about what's the penalty if you violate the law. And as I said previously, it has been the court's position, the federal court, that there is no gender discrimination for firing or not allowing a woman to lactate or express breast milk. Under the, and it was not part of pregnancy discrimination, the courts have decided that lactating or expressing breast milk is not part of being pregnant. So finally, under the Affordable Care Act, there is protection for women who are hourly workers but not salary workers. The problem has been, what is the penalty? And because that is wage loss, if you are denied the opportunity to express milk but you've lost no wages, there was no enforcement opportunity. So this really is very important for our city and for our states to take up this cause to ensure that the law is clear and there is an enforceable action behind it. Thank you.
Okay. Any last questions? Okay. This is like a town hall meeting here. Yes, ma'am. Hi.
So the law is mandatory on all employers. The employee has to request the reasonable accommodation to express milk, and the only way an employer is not obligated to supply a safe sanitary space is if it's an undue hardship on the employer. But it's the employer's burden to prove the undue hardship, and that's outlined in the law as well. It's a pretty high standard of a financial impossibility or an industry impossibility to happen.
Okay. Thank you all so much, and congratulations.